Hello, everybody. This is Joseph P. Farrell with news and views from the Nefarium on Thursday, July 18th, 2024. This is our first news and views since the attempted assassination on former President Donald Trump's life last Saturday. So, needless to say, we will be talking about that today. There has been a rumor flying about. I have not been able to confirm any of it yet. The rumor is about something so important that it would be remiss of me not to inform you about it. So we'll get to that in just a minute. Remember, folks, tomorrow afternoon at 5 o'clock U.S. Central Time, we will be having our late vid chat. This is our new third vid chat of the month. We are doing 2 early, 1 late for our European friends. So please remember to get your questions and comments in no later than 10 o'clock U.S. Central Time tonight. I'll be in there early tomorrow in the chat room to make sure everything is set up and working. We had some nasty technical issues in the vid chat last Thursday. Hopefully we'll be able to avoid these this Friday. But anyway, we are going ahead with our vid chat tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. There were some weather concerns, but those appear to have dissipated, at least the ones on Friday. Now, let's get right to it. So far, the attempted assassination on Mr. Trump is playing out exactly according to the template of assassinations that appears to be used in this country ever since Abraham Lincoln, and even more recently with the assassination of President Kennedy. We've seen all the memes emerge. First, we've had the lone nut emerge. Now, that's important because the man that they're focusing on, this Thomas Matthew Crooks, if you go back and recall the very earliest reporting on all of this, there were 2 other suspected lone nuts, and I've blogged about a couple of them in my blogs this last week about who some of these other early assassins were. And I still am not convinced that this kid that is the current favorite was really capable of doing any of this stuff. But now it seems that more facts about him are emerging, and of course they're all facts that indicate that he was indeed a lone nut. Then we had the audio forensics tape emerge that indicates that there were more than 3 weapons being fired at Butler, Pennsylvania. Now, obviously, some of those are going to be coming from the local Secret Service and SWAT teams, so that's not an indicator. However, there are also witnesses that are claiming that they are hearing shots being fired from more than one place, and apparently at Mr. Trump. So, who knows? So far, we've got sort of a grassy knoll version of shots. But the most interesting meme is the one that has just recently come out that we're going to be talking about in just a minute. But you'll recall with 9/11 and with JFK, there was a clear indicator that someone somewhere knew that there was going to be an event that would change the value of certain shares on the stock market. With JFK, we recall, and this has only been reported in one assassination researcher, I did remark about it in my own book. With the JFK assassination, here it comes, folks, German firm by the name of Bunge, B-U-N-G-E, and Born, in its Argentina branch, was shorted prior to the JFK assassination. And Bunge and Born itself also apparently placed some shorts on the stock market, but where and who, we simply don't know. With 9/11, we had all of those shorts that were placed by Deutsche Bank and Lufthansa, apparently, prior to the 9/11 event, which, in my opinion, have never been adequately explained. Now, there is a similar meme floating out there right now. It appears, please don't make up your mind, listen all the way through my reading of this article. This is a post by someone by the name of Josh Walkos, Walkos, that has appeared talking about the short story. Now, at the very end of his post, he has a very important article, or addendum, I should say, that throws this whole story into a bit of a cocked hat. So, in other words, no one has been able to verify this story, but the story itself is so peculiar, I'm putting it out there because I think the story indicates once again that this is a conspiracy that we're looking at, and someone appears to be going to great lengths to cover up this aspect of the story for whatever reason. So I will link this for you and allow you to read what Mr. Walkos says in his article. I'm simply reading directly from it, but I will give you my thoughts about what all of this means after we get through the whole article. It's very short. So it says, quote, a company called Austin Private Wealth LLC shorted 12 million shares of Donald John Trump stock, it gives the stock ticker symbol there, via a put option. The filing date is July 12th, the day before the assassination attempt. Now, folks, I want to point out that there have been a number of peculiar comments made prior to the assassination, not the least from President Biden, Joe himself, but also, as I pointed out in a recent blog, by by West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin, U.S. Senator Joe Manchin. I will be blogging later today about yet another curious statement, foreshadowing statement, if you want to call it that was made and carried in a local Russian story by RT. So I point out to you that there were a number of people making statements like this, and those statements in turn tend to corroborate the existence of foreknowledge that could result in someone shorting Trump stock. So to return to the article here, quote, they have around $1 billion in assets under management, and this is by far the largest put placed. According to a source, the trade represents 6% of total shares and over 16% of the float of the stock, given the fact that Trump owns 60% of the company. Now, to skip a little bit here, to make things even more interesting, my source tipped me off with the following two images taken from their Bloomberg terminal, and then he puts up these two images in the article. Again, you can go to the website and look at it and read it. The screenshot on the left shows the put by Austin Private Wealth LLC that was taken earlier this morning. And by the way, the date on this post is important here. It's, I believe, July 16th. The screenshot on the left shows the put by Austin Private Wealth LLC that was taken earlier this morning. It shows the 120,000 puts. As you can see, their position is by far the largest. The next closest is Citadel Advisors with 16,770. Here is where it gets interesting. Pay attention, folks. The screenshot to the right was taken later in the day, and poof, the Austin Private Wealth LLC put is nowhere to be found. Why? Also, if you have any more information, my direct messages are open. Austin Private Wealth amended their filing on July 16th and removed their put option on Trump stock. Another interesting thing about the amendment filed on July 16th is that it is the only one they have ever had. I searched And their first filing was on February 12th, 2020. So in other words, we have a put option, an option to short, basically, filed on the day before the Trump assassination attempt for 12 million shares of Trump stock. And then an amendment was filed on July 16th, apparently, and that filing, the previous filing, was completely withdrawn. I hope you're following this. Because now, here's Mr. Walkos himself stating this, quote, Austin Private Wealth released the following statement about the shorted Trump stock, quote, statement on incorrect filing with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The Securities and Exchange Commission filing, which showed that Austin Private Wealth shorted a large number of shares of Trump Media and Technology Group Corporation, was incorrect, and we immediately amended it as soon as we learned of the error. No client of Austin Private Wealth holds or has ever held a put on DJT, Donald John Trump stock, in the quantity initially reported. The correct holding amount was 12 contracts, or 1,200 shares, not 12 million shares, as was filed in error. In submitting the required report for the second quarter of 2024, a multiplier was applied by a third-party vendor that increased the number of shares by a multiple of 10,000 for all option contracts, not just Trump stock. We did not catch the error before approving the filing. We filed the report on July 12th to reflect our positions on June 28th. We amended it on July 16th. We deeply regret this error and the concern it has caused, especially at such a fraught moment for our nation. We are committed to full transparency and maintaining the trust of our clients. As such, we are reviewing our internal procedures and our processes with the third-party vendor that assists with security and exchange filings to better understand how this happened and avoid similar issues moving forward, unquote. And here's Mr. Walkos's comment, quote, so just a simple, gigantic clerical oversight. Moving along, unquote. Now, I'm ready and willing to admit that this kind of error can happen. Anyone who's been frantically typing away at their computer monitor and trying to keep up with such things will know how easy it is to make an error. I can understand that. I get that. So I think that you have to hold open the possibility that this was, as Austin Private Wealth is saying, it was simply a mistake, and they amended the filing in time to avoid a massive loss of money to their customers. But I think you have to admit the possibility that it may have been a hack, that someone deliberately stepped in and, unbeknownst to Austin Private Wealth's management, increased the shorts and the amount of shorts, and perhaps were hoping through a, quote, apparent mistake to make a lot of money. But of course, if it was a genuine mistake, that money would have been illegally obtained and it would have been recovered by the SEC. So the other thing that I think we have to suspect, the other possibility, is that these shorts were genuinely placed and quickly withdrawn after the assassination failed. Now imagine if it had gone through and there had been shorts on Mr. Trump's stock. The interesting thing about this article is that it notes that Mr. Trump still holds a majority stake in his own company. In other words, he still owns the company. He still controls it. with a massive short then on the value of his stock, and in the aftermath of an assassination attempt, which, God forbid, had it been successful, probably would have seen the value of his stock plummet, and therefore the personal wealth of his entire family plummet. That's a key here, because they would have inherited his share, his stake in his own company, most likely. So this appears to have been, at least possibly, a deliberate filing that was subsequently withdrawn under the guise of having been a mistake. And that's the part here that bothers me. Because if there is now then a third-party vendor involved that is not yet being disclosed, we need to figure out who that third-party vendor may have been. And again, we have to acknowledge the possibility that third-party vendor may actually be a symbol or a placeholder for several involved parties. So we need to know, because this is a significant story, especially when you place it in the context of remarks by certain people that indicated that something was going to happen. You know, these people can't help themselves. They're on the inside, they hear things, and they want to blurt out the possibility that they know something because they're an insider. They're on the inside. They're cool. So this is a story, make no mistake about it, that appears to be on very, very wobbly legs. It could be a genuine mistake. Probably is. However, there's that lingering possibility that it may have been something that some middle echelon manager or an anonymous hacker that used the Austin Private Wealth Company for their own purposes. Who knows? But the possibilities still linger, in my opinion. And we're not going to know for sure. I'm not discounting Austin Private Wealth's own statement. I think, again, that they may be victims just as much as Mr. Trump's company may have been an intended victim here. So who knows where this is going to go, but it's a story worth paying some attention to, because if so, then it means we have another telltale indicator that there is foreknowledge and therefore a conspiracy involved in the attempted assassination. I'll be blogging more today about all of this to try and keep up with this. I do promise you that eventually we're going to get back to our regular schedule and types of blogs, but all of this has just been too much to try and ignore. Don't forget, tomorrow at 5 o'clock we've got the late vid chat. Remember, get your comments and questions in by 10 o'clock Central tonight. Keep your comments and questions short. Remember, other people are waiting in line, and this is the new short format vid chat where it's first come, first serve. So don't gobble up other people's time, folks, by posting these tremendously long comments and questions. Anyway, we'll see you tomorrow, God willing, without any storms or technical problems like we had last week. And we'll see you on the flip side, everybody. Bye-bye, and God bless.